This episode is brought to you by Rupert's Pet Cremation and Transport. Rupert's Pet Cremation and Transport offers individual pet cremations on the Central Coast. They aim to ease the grief associated with losing a beloved pet by providing a compassionate and respectful service. Rupert's fully trained and caring team will look after everything, from the collection to the return of your pet's ashes within 4 business days. They have a range of urns to choose from, and you can personalise the plaque with your own inscription. Furthermore, each cremation package comes with a free memorial box with a range of keepsakes. You can also customise your package by adding a framed paw print mould and or garden memorial stone. Information is available at www.rpct.com.au. Mention the Living the Dram podcast for a free paw print mould with your cremation package. Conditions apply. Rupert's Pet Cremation and Transport. Treat your pet like their own.
This episode of Living the Dram is brought to you by the Duff Bus, providing safe, fun, affordable and responsible travel to music festivals around Australia. Do you love festivals but hate driving? I do. Actually, I went down to the snow not long ago and the best thing that I did was call a coach instead of driving. Geez, it took the burden out of it. The Duff Bus has been safely carrying people interstate for 5 years and is much more than a coach journey. The Duff Bus is an environmentally friendly alternative to driving, and they're committed to reducing the carbon footprint of festivals. The Duff Bus offers you an experience you'll never forget. You're going to make new friends for life, travelling with a bunch of awesome, like-minded duffers. Rather than spending over $100 on petrol, then driving hours to rural Australia, then being herded like a domestic animal into holding pens while you wait to get in, you'll be catching a bus with a professional driver, so you can sit back and relax and get psyched with the other passengers, like no fuss. And there's no fretting about getting pulled over by the cops. Like, we know what you duffers are like. There's storage space too, so you don't have to worry about stuffing your car to the brim, not being able to see out the back, driving in an unsafe environment. And the party keeps going once you arrive. You'll have the chance to pitch a tent at the designated Duff Bus camping area where the team will provide a kick-ass camp and keep the good times rolling. The 2019-2020 summer will see the Duff Bus head to Rainbow, Earth Frequency, Esoteric and Rabbits Eat Lettuce. Unfortunately, Subsonic has been postponed due to the post-apocalyptic weather that we are experiencing in New South Wales. Single duff return trips cost from $100, but if you're multi-duffing this year, you got those itching dancing feet and feel that only one festival this summer isn't going to satiate, you can book multiple trips and save cash. For every additional trip that you book, you'll save another $30. Be part of the solution. Check out www.duffbus, that's DOOFBUS.com.au for more info. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, welcome, Rickus, to this fine episode of Living the Dram.
Oh, thanks very much. It's lovely to be here.
We're going to potentially one of my favourite parts of Scotland. Certainly the one of the smallest regions that produce
I'm excited.
Quite a unique style of malt.
Call me Big Kev, because I am excited.
You're not the only one. I'm fucking pumped for this episode. We're in Campbeltown.
Oh, yes.
I know you love a viscous malt.
Oh, yeah, I'm speechless.
The robes don't get any fucking thicker than the ones on these things.
I've been hanging for this. Hanging.
Honestly, one of these drams is been a go-to for both of us since we came across it.
What a pleasant surprise.
And one of these is one we haven't tasted.
Whoa, gets better.
It's an exciting fucking time. So, on a day where half the country's on fire,
the palace is burning.
We'll have a soothing fucking dram that will warm us without setting us alight.
So, The drams we have in question today. We're going to visit the Glen Scotia. We have their 15-year-old single malt.
The only whiskey that I have given, that every person I've given a dram of this to has been overwhelmed.
I'll concur. Same here.
Even people that don't drink whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even the girls I know that don't drink whiskey have had a dram of this and gone, oh, that's fucking really nice.
There's something special about this. From the start, it became one of my favourites.
Yep, instantly.
One of my go-tos. Actually, when you asked me in a previous episode what I took to the snow, I have a feeling that this was one of the ones that I carried in those 3 or more hip flasks.
That's a damn good move.
Yeah.
That's a damn good move.
Mm-hmm.
From Glen Scotia, we're going to go to Kilkerran from the Glengyle distillery, which only has a very small range, but they're 12-year-old, which we're going to sample today.
One of the youngest distilleries in Scotland.
I think they are. I think they're definitely one of, if not the youngest distillery, even though...
I think Killoman's a little bit younger.
You may be right. I couldn't tell you with that, but you are usually more educated on these matters than me. And then to one of the eldest distilleries in Scotland.
182 years they have been producing whiskey. Not constantly, unfortunately. You know, there's a few hiccups in between as we learn about the Patterson crash and, you know, that little event called World War II. Prohibition.
As close to continuous as you get, though.
Pretty much, they have one of the longest lasting legacies of all distilleries, probably on the globe, on the planet.
So my exposure to Campbeltown came about through the Glen Scotia. Well, that wasn't my first Campbeltown whiskey, but it was the first Campbeltown whiskey I tasted. So I had a bottle of Kilkerran on my shelf that I didn't open. Because I think there were only 5,000 cases of the Kilkerran 12-year-old released when it first came out. So when I got my bottle, I put it on the shelf, not being familiar with the Campbeltown style. When the Glen Scotia came out, I couldn't help myself. I think I got a couple of bottles of it, and therefore I opened one, and instantly fell in love with the style. Instantly fell in love with the maritime oiliness that's characteristic of the region.
That is the first word that comes to mind. The oiliness, that really thick viscosity is unparalleled.
So I then opened my Kilkerran and tried it, and fell even further in love with Campbeltown. Then I found out there was another distillery in Campbeltown, and I've been waiting to try something from Springbank for quite some time, waiting for this exact opportunity for us to visit Campbeltown. I mean, we've been talking about doing this podcast for ages. There is
none better a forum, basically, for smashing a Springbank.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little nervous. I've got really high expectations.
Yeah, same here.
And you know what it's like. You have high fucking expectations. You usually get punched in the nuts. Mm-hmm. But
it's a further distance to fall.
Yep, but I'm still really excited, and we've
the fact that it's a medium peat as well, that sings to me.
Look, even the suggestion of peat in a style that's if it's anything like the Glen Scotia with its oiliness and viscosity, or the Kilkerran with that creaminess to the texture of it, with the addition of peat, fuck yeah! I mean, I'm a Lagavulin man through and through, so I'm an Isla boy. But yeah,
you and Ron Swanson separated at birth.
The man grows a better moustache. The man clearly has more hair, but our values align in many respects. He's a man's man. Not that I consider myself a man's man, but we both love the same whiskey. In fact, I'm sure I've mentioned it a bunch of times. It's the Lagavulin that started me on my whiskey journey. It's the Lagavulin that made me love whiskey. So anything with peat in it is going to fucking pump me up, and I'm pretty pumped. It's all I can do not to reach for this whiskey right now. legit.
Patience, my son.
I know. I'm just not a very patient man.
So, as we said, we ventured into Campbeltown. Campbelltown's a small town on the Kintyre Peninsula. I love that Kintyre. It's kind of like when you canal. Kintyre. It's like you're swearing, but you're not really. On the Kintyre Peninsula on the west coast of Scotland, and was once a bustling fishing village. It's affectionately known as the Wee Toon. It was once used as a smuggling centre for the most part of the 17th and 18th century, and many a bottle of Scotland's famous liquid was distilled illegally. It's got a rather lengthy history of illicit.
It really does.
Distilling.
I think it had a lot of illegal distilleries there, and there was quite some shit that was given to the early license once the Excise Act was passed. The first ones that started distilling legally, were threatened to have their distilleries burnt down because of all the illegal distilleries that didn't want to pay the tax man. And fucking fair enough. Who wants to pay the tax man? But if you don't pay the tax man, you can't get global shipping, and then I don't get to taste the whiskey. So pay the fucking tax man. How dare you take away my opportunity to try your whiskey by illegally distilling it? And I'm sure there isn't much of that going on these days.
I like your angle.
Well, I love whiskey, so I want to try as much of it as I can. But, it was a different world.
It really was.
Days.
Well, considering it took 9 hours to get it up to, was it Glasgow?
Well, I think that's part of why the region was considered, the capital of whiskey. During the time. I mean, there were obviously a few factors that went into it. It had all the ingredients it needed. Bountiful fresh water, local barley, fuel and peat. But the fact that because of steam navigation, Glasgow was only 9 hours steam right away. They were able to get their whiskey out, and they, from what I've read, it was a peaty, pungent, heavily flavoured whiskey in the day, and they knew how to taste their scotch back in those days. And I mean, I think at one stage the numbers varied a little bit, but it's somewhere between 28 and 31 distilleries in operation, which rivaled even Speyside at the time.
So Campbelltown single malt whiskies distilled in the borough of Campbelltown on the Kintyre Peninsula in Scotland, and Campbelltown is a protected locality for Scotch whisky distilling under the UK government legislation. So you've probably heard us mention other protected localities such as Islay, which are like your Ardbeg, Lagavulin, Lafroig, the real peaty shit, and Campbelltown is another protected locality. There's also 3 protected regions, which you got your Highland, and you got your Lowland, and also your Speyside.
Yeah.
So all Scotch whiskies will fit into one of those categories pretty much.
Campbelltown did lose its protected status for a little while there because you have to have 3.
I was going to say that for a while there was only a few various patches. One of them, there was quite often 3 players, and then a certain one would drop off, and then another one would pick up, and then a different one would drop off.
Yeah. Bless them. Thank fuck they've managed to keep that protected status, because it's unique.
It certainly is.
Yeah, amongst all the other kinds of whiskies, and
it's almost the not that the Drams are similar, but it's almost the Tasmania of Scotland. It is that tiny little, somewhat isolated region that's it's tucked away. It's got its own profile.
Yeah, and it's got everything it needs there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean it's
sounds like a beautiful place.
I want to go everywhere in fucking Scotland, but I think Campbelltown's somewhere where, like Islay, I need to go there.
Yes.
I need to experience. I need to drink those drams in that environment and just soak up the history of the place.
Well, Campbelltown wasn't the town's original name. The place was established in 1597 by Act of Parliament and began to be settled in 1607. It was known as Lochhead until the mid-19th century when the name Campbeltown was coined, and this was somewhat immodestly coined by the local lairds and beacons of audacity, the Campbells. Why not?
Did you watch that? I'm pretty fucking certain there was a show on the ABC when I was a kid called The Campbells, and I don't know if it was Irish or Scottish, but it was a period drama. I think that was set down there, and it's kept flashing into my mind. It was one of those things. Might have been on after Banana Man and Super Ted, kind of around that area, right? 7:30, and I remember watching it with the family.
If a period drama came on straight after an anime, I was either asleep or I went outside to kick a football.
Yeah, fair enough. There was only a few shows we watched as a family when I was a young fella, and I'm pretty sure that was one of them.
Okay.
But anyway, neither here nor there.
So, no, cannot confirm nor deny. We might have to dib that.
Oh, in the show notes.
So distilling on the Kintyre Peninsula dates back to 1609 with the granting of the first license to produce aquavitae. The Kintyre Peninsula had an abundance, as you've said, of the ingredients needed for distilling, and by 1795 there were 21 known illicit stills in Campbelltown and 10 in the surrounding countryside. The first distillery in the town was the Campbeltown Distillery, funnily enough, which was established in 1817. As such a major producer of the sweet nectar of the gods, in Victorian times, this led to the claim of the title Whisky Capital of the World.
Indeed.
But unfortunately, since then, the production has notably declined. Most of the distilleries have gone out of business and little trace of them remains.
Now, from what I was able to gather, there were a number of factors that contributed to it. The closure of the Drum Limble,
the
coal mine, because that was when they had a coal seam that was close to the surface, so it was cheap to access clean fuel, which was allowed them to kind of realistically they were producing far more than any other region at the time, and that came down to the factors of steam, easy access to the coal, and plentiful access to the other regions. But when that coal mine closed down, that started hard times. After World War One, the duty hikes just kept going up and up, so they was just paying more excise, paying more to the tax man. And
Great Depression.
Yeah, the Prohibition.
Followed by Prohibition. Yeah, as I said, everything just.
It really did.
After
go
the
downhill
feast comes a boot stepping on your face forever.
And they kind of made their own bed as well. There was a lot of shortcuts. It's harsh to say they made their own bed, but as your profit margins drop, you take your shortcuts. You're running your distillery. You're too hard, too often. Your product becomes it drops in quality.
Well, that's it. You're used to cruising at a certain altitude, and all of a sudden, whoa, things are changing. Oh, I'm going to need to make shortcuts to keep making the same. Like, you get used to living at a certain comfort level.
Yep. But they also fucked their water supply. Yeah, they
really?
The Campbeltown Loch got a nasty effluent in it, so all their waste was just going into the loch.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so and look,
Parramatta River style.
100%, right? Just short-term ignorance. Fuck it, it's someone else's problem. We don't know enough about the consequences of the actions. But when everyone's pumping their shit into the same water source, all of a sudden your water's kind of fucked. So and not all of the distilleries would have taken their water from the Campbeltown Loch, but when you clean drinking water that's for the most of the populace of your areas no good, you run into dramas. So it's it was a vicious circle of falling demand, value and quality, and I think it was what I've got here, no fewer than 17 distilleries closed in the 1920s, and by the end of the decade only one was still distilling.
Oh really? Yeah, I've got by 1929 only 3 of them were still open, and that was Scotia, Springbank and Reclacken.
Yeah, but Reclacken was the only one that was still distilling at the time.
Okay, right.
The 34, Springbank and Glen Scotia restarted production, and then Recluckens shut for good, and that's when they lost their protected status because they only had two active distilleries.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, thankfully, they and there's a lovely little tie-in and story as well regarding the Glengyle. But thankfully, the Glengyle distillery reopened, and they got their protected status back.
Nice.
But that was a fair way down the track. A fair way fucking down the track. 75 odd years.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, today, only 3 distilleries continue to produce whiskey in Campbeltown, which is Springbank, Glengyle, which is released as the Kilkerran. More on that in a minute. And the Glen Scotia. And these distilleries give a pretty remarkable insight into the history of making whiskey in this remote, once prolific region of Scotland.
Yeah, I found it really interesting delving into the history of the area itself and how big a part these distilleries played. And you can see why they were the ones that survived.
Yeah.
You know, there's tantalising hints at, and another reason why I want to go there, that, 30 odd distilleries, and the remains of them are all over the place. They've been turned into supermarkets, and
We're seeing one was used as a rifle range for a while.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's just there's a bit of mystery about it. There's a bit of romance about it.
Yeah.
And they produce great whiskey.
But it sounds like a really gorgeous period, sort of sleepy little region.
Yep, really tucked out of the way.
Yeah,
I think you've got a
sort of a lore unto itself
and
in a way.
Quite go to quite a length to get there. Like, it's not a easy fucking bus trip out of the city. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a journey, and I reckon it'd be worthwhile to do it. So I reckon we fucking should. But
I am keen as. So Glengyle, which produces the Kilkerran, has only recently been revived by J&A Mitchell & Co. Limited, who own and operate the Springbank distillery as well. The whiskey is sold under the name Kilkerran to avoid confusion with a Highland blended malt, which is also named Glengyle. And as of 2016, Kilkerran has started bottling and selling a 12-year-old spirit, which we have to sample today to go along with their previously released no-age statement offerings.
They've also got a 8-year-old cask strength, which is hard to get your hands on. And there's an interesting thing about the Kilkerran. So the 12-year-old is I've lost the word, but they've went through a bunch of whiskey in progress releases. It's the culmination. Fucking yeah, go brain. It's the culmination of these whiskey in progress releases that have culminated in the 12-year-old. They're doing the same thing with the heavily peated at the moment. There have been 2 batches released, only very short, small supplies of them. Almost impossible to get your hands on. Blink and you miss the release. But they've done 2 batches now. Both have been reviewed pretty well, and hopefully that'll be available on the market sooner rather than later, because you know me and a heavily peated whiskey, Rick.
Especially with this level of viscosity. That's pretty much your bag.
My 2 favourite things.
Oil and peat.
Fuck yes.
Springbank. The Springbank distillery produces 3 distinct whiskies. They do the Springbank, which is a medium peated 2.5 time distilled, I believe, which is...
It was kind of weird the way they worked that out, but that's what they say.
A bit of marketing spin there, I think. That's cool. It's interesting. It sparked my interest anyway, but we'll get to that in a minute. Hazelburn, which is a triple distilled non-peated, as far as I'm aware.
So more like a light floral, more in line with an Irish whiskey from what I can tell.
And Longrow, which apparently is double distilled, heavily peated.
A couple of no-age statements on that, and an 18-year-old.
Yeah, nice. But we will first sample something from Glen Scotia, which was sometimes affectionately known as the Scotia or Old Scotia and was founded in 1832. Out of the past 2 centuries, it has been operating for approximately 180 years of them, and the distillery has a formidable pedigree. So as we were saying earlier, this was out of the blue. This quickly became one of my favourites.
And instantly, I mean, you can see the incredibly rich robe on it.
Yeah, this is thick as.
Like it's so oily in the glass.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm salivating just looking at the fucking thing. But I mean, the Scotia fell silent in 1930, and back then it was just called Scotia without the Glen, because there was a tradition that you didn't use the word Glen at a Campbeltown distillery outside of Speyside, really.
Yeah.
But hey, traditions are meant to be broken, aren't they? So, but
if you're going to break them well.
But yeah, it was bought by the Bloch brothers in 1933 and reopened as Glen Scotia. And then I think it fell silent again in 1984 for 5 years. And then 1989 saw an upturn in fortune in, kind of whiskey started to become a little bit more popular again, and Glen Scotia reopened.
A little bit of pear on the nose, I reckon.
You're right, but the wood comes through as well.
Not getting that so much. Get nice sweet tones for mine.
Yeah, there's a fair bit going on in there. It is floral with some pear and some orchard fruits, stone fruits. Yeah, she smells light. She smells, there's a sweetness there.
Yeah, this is a very nice spring vibe to it, actually.
Yeah, it's not fresh pear though. It's maybe stewed pear.
It's a nice overripe Packham or something like that. Nice and soft. That's that. I don't know if you've seen that Ed Izzard skit about the pears.
No, I haven't.
The pears, they have like a 5-minute window of opportunity where they're ripe. Meanwhile, you need to put up a shelf, use an unripe pear, nail something in with it, and then it's like they're all conspiring against you. All right, he's left ripen. Ripen. Come back half an hour later, they're all fungal, mouldy.
I've never eaten a lot of pear. I've never really liked the texture of pear very much. But
I like them when they get to that borderline overripe, really juicy.
Yeah, okay.
But
there's a few different types of pear you can have. I think someone gave me a type of pear that almost had the texture of an apple that I quite liked.
Oh, was it a nashi or a yar?
Yes, it was a nashi.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I quite like that.
Yeah, you can... I love they have like a citrusy sort of zing aroma to them to start with.
For the traditional pear that I used to eat when I was a kid, I didn't like the gritty texture of it. Just
sure.
Wasn't for me.
That's fun. I remember as a kid, people telling me they really didn't like multigrain bread because they didn't like the grainy bits in it. I was like, fuck it, I love the grainy bits.
So I hated multigrain bread
really?
Because I hated the grainy bits. Now I go out of my fucking way to buy seeded sourdoughs that have got as much seed and grain and fucking sunflower seeds and shit in them as possible. I love it.
But I
will always choose multigrain now, and the more grain the better. Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
I was a white bread kid. The worst kind of bread.
I had a white bread mum, and I was like, for fuck's sake, mix it up a bit.
No, I was a white bread kid.
I used to go and
stand the shit.
Pick the wheat out of my neighbour's chook feed to eat like the grains of wheat.
You are a strange man, my brother, but I love you. That's great. I'm getting a little bit of Christmas pudding on the nose here. Is that overstating it a bit? Maybe I'm looking for too much in there.
Maybe there is a lot of sweetness to it,
but it's not sherry sweetness. It's darker, fruits, but with that light overtone which I think you're right with the pear in the first place. But
yeah, that's it's the first thing that's coming, and pretty much the only thing that's coming to mind for me.
I'm sick of smelling the fucking thing.
Yeah, let's. So what is this running at? It's at 46. Ooh. A little bit of burn on the first sip for me.
Oh god, that finish is long. But the viscosity that coats your mouth
Yeah.
so luxuriously. It's fucking decadent.
Mm-hmm.
But never judge it on its first mouthful.
No. That's why I always tell people to take 2 sips of anything I ever give them. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the wood came out in that a lot, or a lot more. It's not heavily woody.
No, but it's there, and that spice that's really redolent on that first mouthful, which is, and as you say, that vapor. I find that the spice and the vapor can be one and the same for me.
Okay.
Especially on the first sip of any whiskey.
They tend to hit different parts of the tongue for me. If it comes straight out the nose, for me it's vapor.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. But so I find the first sip of any whiskey is always a shock to certain parts of your mouth.
Sure.
But that second sip,
But that is it's the first
spice
sip is preparation.
Yep, exactly right. But that spice settles. The salt starts to come through. That maritime edge. It's not overwhelming.
There is. Yeah, well, now that you point that out, there is a wee bit of salt to it.
It's subtle.
It's reminiscent of an Islay without peat.
Yeah, it's not as in your face as the salt. Like the salt and the sea spray smacks you in the face in an Islay, or in certain Islas like Ardbeg, Lagavulin.
I think that's Ardbeg's shtick. They make it that 10 Ardbeg 10. They make a point of being
100%.
Yeah.
Whereas
Stupidly
a Bowmore, for example, lays it back a bit, and Kilkerran lays it back even more. Like the salt is a really subtle undercurrent, and it's a far sweeter, more floral Islay. Yeah. But it's got a little bit of that maritime tang to it. The spice comes through. You can and the spice for me again, comes from the wood, so it's that wood that's coming through.
Yeah, the spice is sitting in the middle of the tongue where I'm not sure. I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head. We had other ones where the spice was kind of on the edges, but this is deep in the middle of the tongue.
It might have been the Benriach that where the spice really sat on the edges in both the two wooded expressions. That's my memory anyway. But fuck, don't trust my memory. My memory's terrible. But
that's why we record this shit.
100%. And because we just really enjoy sitting down and fucking talking about whiskey and drinking it. Such a good way to spend some time.
So a little tie-in. In 2014, Glen Scotia was bought out by the Loch Lomond Group. They invested pretty heavily and developed the legendary brand. Increasing capacity and opening the warehouses and creating a visitor centre, which hopefully is informing people and turning a decent profit.
I think a visitor centre is a fucking good idea, because in today's, especially,
people are all about experiences.
They really are.
People are getting less material and more about experiences.
And especially young Aussies, or even we're not young Aussies anymore. We're closer to middle-aged Aussies.
Don't remind me, it's my 20-year school reunion tomorrow.
Jesus fucking Christ! Good luck with that. I don't know if we've had one for my school, but I don't use Facebook, so I wouldn't know if that did. No. But we're a generation that tends to travel. And
I think Australians in general are a pretty intrepid bunch. Like, we're so freaking isolated from most places.
That's true.
if we do Europe, and I remember my first European holiday, and I think it probably will, a lot of people will, what would you say, relate to the fact that we visited probably 15 countries in 4 weeks or something stupid. You spend 2 days here, 3 days there. You're trying to pack so much in.
It's because it costs so fucking much to fly there.
Mm-hmm. And once you get there, you're like, well, shit's just so... Are you kidding? That's like going to Canberra.
It's amazing how close shit is. Exactly. Like you can travel to 4 countries in 3 fucking hours. Like,
there's resorts.
You can barely get out of New South Wales in that time.
There's resorts that, like ski resorts, where you can ski 3 countries in 1 day.
It's insane.
So I totally understand. Like Australians tend to bite off more than they can chew.
Yeah, but give people a reason. Like, if a visitor centre, while would probably only be a small investment, I mean, if you've got, and you would be in a position where you can visit only a certain amount of distilleries. And if there's 3 distilleries within that region that you can get to on that day, which one are you going to?
Yeah.
The one with the fucking visitor centre.
Yeah.
Because you're going to the one where they're going to, you go to Isla, you're going to Lefroy to pick up your fucking dram for rent, right?
Damn straight.
Same with fucking Arbeck. Like, you're going to those distilleries because you're getting a dram there.
You might get to see Shorty.
It's a smart investment. And look, Loch Lomond, they're not silly. Their business model is good. They sell good whiskey. They do good expressions, and it's a great idea to have picked up a fucking Campbeltown distillery. There's only fucking 3 of them, so if you can get your hands on one, that is a good move.
Well, considering
and you're not going to get your hands on those 2.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just not.
Yeah. Well, Glengyle and Springbank being owned by the same conglomerate company,
and the family tie.
But the thing that struck me about the Glen Scotia, the packaging, and I'm not sure if it's because I read, like, it has the Loch Lomond Group website on it, but it struck me how the design of this is it's from the same family. Like, visually, this is from the same family as the...
I think, am I not mistaken in the fact that the glass is textured as well? That
the
logo
there we go.
Is,
That's... Yeah.
That's Loch Lomond all over.
Mm-hmm.
But, look, the whiskey is, there's not a lot of smoke. There's not, no. It's a creamy, luxurious in the mouth. Mm-hmm. It's so fucking easy to drink.
Oh, yeah.
It's not overly sweet like an ex-sherry.
No.
But it is sweet. It's got body to it, and it's balanced without being, really overwhelmingly, or I wouldn't call it a powerfully flavored whiskey.
No, not at all.
It's not a light whiskey though either. It really sits in that mid-range where it's got something going for it from a bunch of different places, but it's the oiliness that brings
stopping
it
from being
home.
a light whiskey. But
yes,
but the flavors, like as you said, they're somewhat subdued, but it is
like
incredibly inoffensive. It's
the complete opposite of offensive, which is inoffensive, which so you captured that really well. You captured that really fucking
but it's
well.
But I know what you mean. It's more positive than that.
This is genuinely, and I've done this. This isn't just me saying, oh, this is what I would do. This is the whiskey that I give to people that tell me they don't like whiskey.
Exactly.
And I know, look, the sample size is small, but not one of them have gone, oh, I still don't like whiskey.
It's a pretty good strike rate we've got going here.
That's it. Like, everyone that I've given this whiskey to has gone, oh, wow, I didn't know, I didn't expect that from whiskey, full stop.
I thought whiskey was Johnny Red and Coke.
And look, while we're very fortunate in Australia that we do have, whiskey's becoming more popular, and that's a double-edged sword. It means that we're paying more for our fucking whiskey, and, but there's more people we can be wanky about it with. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, there's still, a lot of the spirit culture in Australia is because we pay so much excise for our alcohol here. A lot of the spirit culture in Australia is Bundy rum, Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, or whatever you can afford. Yeah. Whereas single malts, especially single malts like this, you're not getting any of these for under $100, and a lot of people still want to drink it with fucking Coke because they not. It's not. Oh, it's ignorance, and it's not willful ignorance. It's just that's what they're used to. The drinking culture in Australia has never been particularly healthy.
Yeah.
And it's a binge drinking culture. Your cheap swill, your Woodstock, your Jim Beam,
or beer.
And look,
or domestic beer, basically.
And we're very fortunate that we're living in a beautiful time for craft brewing. Especially in Sydney and Melbourne. And I mean, we're still probably 10 or 15 years behind New Zealand. Jesus, they've got a wonderful craft brewing scene over there.
Same with the States. United States are just absolutely crushing it.
But we're getting there slowly, and this is a whiskey that is helping people come on board to the single malt way. I mean, it's a delightful. This is a whiskey that has spent enough time in wood to have the burn taken out of it and leave the warmth. But at the same time, it's walking through a field of flowers on a beautiful spring day. You can hear the bees, and you can smell the pollen. You can smell the freshness. You can smell each footprint you make in the grass. You can smell the aromas of the grass coming up. Not that I'm not getting grass in the whiskey, but all those aromas come together to create that on the palate here. It's light. It's fucking delightful.
Yeah.
And as a little aside, at Glen Scotia, in their courtyard, they have 2 hives where their resident bees actually produce honey. So
that is outstanding.
Yeah. But
nice little tidbit.
But
I
again,
did not know that.
It's the flavors of the whiskey aren't unique. The oiliness, the viscosity is, and it's that combination that make this so outstanding.
Yeah.
You'll experience light floral whiskies like this from different highlands.
I'd say it's quite akin to a Speyside in terms of flavour.
Yep.
But that viscosity just is unsurpassed.
Yeah, so for me it's got the floral notes of a Highlands whiskey with the
it's got a nice sweetness too.
And that's from, and you're right, the Speyside character is in there as well. But it's
beautiful sugars actually. That's really starting after sort of 15 minutes of sort of airing it and sipping.
But it's delightfully balanced as well. It really is delightfully balanced.
Yeah. Still one of my favourites, and it's slowly overtaking if I spend too long thinking about what I want, it's slowly overtaking a Glenfiddich 12-year-old. Yeah,
look, I mean, you've held on to that for a long time, and I get that.
It's just if I can't make a decision, it's like, okay, you don't deserve anything better than a Glenfiddich 12-year-old.
I think you always deserve better than a Glenfiddich 12-year-old, and that's not saying anything against Glenfiddich 12-year-old. It's been, it's a go-to malt.
It is. Because it is the most supreme inoffensive dram out there. Yeah. And if you don't know what flavour profile you're after, if you're obviously not wanting anything in particular, then that's going to satiate. Yeah. Whereas this is like the cherry on top.
I mean, and Glen Scotia's one of the smallest distilleries in Scotland, so they're not producing shitloads of whiskey.
Yeah, apparently is it just staff of 9 employees, I believe.
That's
what's thought.
It's I'm not sure how many they've got there, but I do know that the distillery manager Ian McAllister has been there for 12 years. Born and bred Campbeltown man. I'm also familiar with his favourite dram, which is the Glen Scotia Double Cask, which is it's a no age statement, but it's married with ex-sherry cask as well. Ooh. To give it so it's that Campbeltown oiliness with the extra sweetness and the extra depth of the sugars from a sherry cask. But
nice.
But this
any idea which sherry by any chance? Or?
Look, I'd imagine it's PX,
Yeah,
but
or maybe Oloroso.
but I like I have a bottle on my shelf at home, but
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
It's it's a really nice no age statement.
Okay.
It's not as good as the 15. Well, my preference is the 15-year-old because fuck, I feel that any no age statement needs to spend more time in wood. Yeah, and 15 years, that's about the right amount of time to spend in wood.
Mm-hmm.
That takes the fire out no matter. Yeah, and obviously you put a really nicely refined spirit into wood, it doesn't need as long, but I don't give a fuck how refined your spirit is after 15 years. Yeah, it's going to be.
You can hedge your bets and say that it's going to be close to the sweet spot.
That's it. The more refined it is when it goes in, the better it's going to be after 15 years. But 15 years is a good amount of time. The distillation process they use is known as small batch processing, and from what I can gather, it involves the malted barley being placed in mash tuns where 2 consecutive waters are added over a period of 8 hours. The first water is added at 66 degrees, the second at 72 degrees.
Okay,
so
what does that do?
I'm assuming that's why it's called small batch processing, because, well, that's what it says. But that's how it might be how they get some of that viscosity. But it was a little bit of information that I was able to find, but not a huge amount of more than that. But the 15-year-old did win. It's won a few awards, and rightly so.
So should have.
It won a gold medal at the Scotch Whisky Masters in 2017. At 2016 World Whisky Awards, it won a gold medal. And in 2016, it won double gold at the San Francisco Spirits Comp.
Yes.
So it's, I think those awards are well deserved from where I stand.
Does this have and this is quite possibly a 2017 bottle.
Yeah, it's likely. Quite likely to be.
Oh, lovely.
That was fucking delightful. That was so hard to leave whiskey in that glass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going back for one last before I try it with a dropper later on.
Just looking. I've just put that glass in front of me for those listening, and I can see the edge of that last sip. It's not moving at all, and it may be there until the end of this podcast. That's how beautifully, luxuriantly viscous it is. That's such a gorgeous robe. And I'm a robe man.
You do have one of the best robes going around.
I love a robe. I've recently picked up a new summer robe as well, which it'll be cracked out next time you crack out your paisley, I reckon.
Oh yeah. My paisleys all seasons. I generally run warm anyway, so my paisleys all seasons.
Well, it's a light. It's in the style of your paisley.
Excellent.
So, I'm a road man.
Cannot wait. So what? Onward to Glengyle.
I reckon so.
All right, let's.
We're not here to fuck spiders. We're here to drink whiskey.
The fornicating of arachnids will not be tolerated in this establishment.
What do you got for us?
So, Glengyle. The whiskey from Glengyle Distillery isn't called Glengyle, obviously. Rather, it's bottled under the name Kilkerran. The name Glengyle is actually owned by Loch Lomond Distillers.
Oh, that's a nice little tie. I didn't know that.
And it's used for their vatted malt.
It's a Highland blend, isn't it?
I would assume so, being Loch Lomond, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, yeah. The name Kilkerran comes from the Scottish Gaelic, and here we go, it's butcher time.
I'm glad you tried this, because I've got this written down. I just went, fucking nut.
All right, you look at Gaelic and you go to follow your instinct and then go, okay, so how else can I pronounce it? And then go for the second option.
The second word I'm confident on. Everything else, it's up for grabs.
Right. Well, I'm going to go Glengyle Kilkerran, which...
You know what? I'm sure you butchered it somewhat, but I think you butchered it a lot less than, I would have, that's for sure. I've got the anglicised version of it here, which is Glengyle and Kilkerran.
That almost looks German. There's far too many K's there.
Yeah, there's a lot of K's, a lot of R's.
Actually, it could be South African or Dutch.
But yeah, so I barely speak English, let alone Gaelic. But I think you did a fucking great job.
Your command of the English language is pretty good. It's well above the level of most Australians.
That's a low bar, though.
That's a low bar. I'll go again. Loch, Kilkerran, which translates to the head of the lake of St. Kieran's Cell, which is the name of a settlement where St. Kieran is believed to have had a religious cell and where modern Campbeltown stands today. Kilkerran is thought to be a suitable name for a new Campbeltown malt, since it was unusual for the old Campbeltown distilleries to be called after a glen, which, as we mentioned before, is more accustomed to a speyside. So the distillery was found in 1872 by William Mitchell and completed in 1873. And Mitchell had been previously involved with Springbank Distillery. His father Archibald had founded Springbank. But after a bit of a spat with his brother Mr. John, which I'm sure you'd understand pretty well, brotherly love.
Oh, yep. I got 3 of them. They're great blokes. I love them dearly. But we have fought.
Oh, yeah. So I'm sure you're highly empathetic to Will's situation.
Mind you, I don't think we've ever fought about exactly what those boys fought about.
But you're not Scottish and you're not a Kiwi.
That's correct. So we usually fought about cricket and winning.
Yeah. Well, apparently John and Will had a bit of a beef over sheep.
Yeah, I know it begs for a Kiwi joke. It really does. It does. But we're better than that. We are. Or at least we pretend to be.
We'll take the high road here anyway.
Here's one I didn't prepare earlier. But I like the fact that, fuck you. You can keep the sheep. I'm going to build my own distillery. That's the high road.
Yeah, I'm biting my tongue hard. So Will went off and joined his other brothers and sisters at Racklacken Distillery, which, looking at that, I don't know, I love languages and etymology, and the spelling there, Reich, like German, Lachen. I'm wondering if they get that from German, actually has like a bit of a Gaelic inflection, which I assume translates to like rich lake.
Yeah, right.
Which could be a testament to the water source, perhaps.
Could be.
So yeah, Will went and joined his brothers and sisters at Racklacken before venturing out on his own. In 1891, Campbeltown, with then a population of just under 2,000 people, was reputed to be the richest town in Britain per capita.
That's a great fact.
Yeah. Love it.
Yep.
But I wonder if it was like Saudi Arabia where 3 people just making bank.
Yeah, well, it was just the Mitchells. They had 3 fucking distilleries.
Yeah. Everybody else are artful dodgers.
Yep.
And then in 1919, the distillery was sold to West Highland Malt Distilleries Limited as a result of the post-war economic downturn. Nice. Downturn, which was badly affecting all the distilleries in the Campbeltown region. In 24, it changed hands again for £300.
That's such a great number. The princely sum of 300 fucking pounds for the distillery.
It's the equivalent of 18,000 British pounds, or about 35,000 Australian pounds.
It's a bargain at twice the price.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's in 2019 figures. But didn't last long. No. In 25, it ceased production, with all the remaining stock being sold off.
That's the horrifying part there. Yeah, I mean, you're auctioning off all that stock.
Mm.
That's. Can you imagine if someone had picked that up? Say someone's picked up 6 casks, at bargain prices. They're paid 10, £20. I mean, if you're buying the fucking distillery for £300, what are you buying a cask for, right? And then someone's put them away somewhere, buried them, and forgotten about it. 75 years later, can you imagine what they'd be worth? Can you imagine?
I'm not sure. I might be crossing wires here. I did think a 50-year-old might have been released from that stock.
I think that was a Springbank.
Okay. I'm getting wires crossed.
But, same family, so...
Well, yeah. But I wonder if they ceased production, if that had anything to do with the Drumlamble colliery to closure.
Look, it probably comes back to all of those factors coming in together at the same time. Thankfully, the buildings were kept in good repair, and I'm fairly certain that it was this distillery that was used as the miniature gun range. That was one of the uses for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then used as a depot and a sales office for an agricultural company. So, but for those reasons, it remained one of the best preserved buildings in Campbeltown.
So they were able to then, and they had a couple of cracks. There was a couple of attempts to reopen it that fell through.
Yeah, Blocky, he had to go.
And I'm not sure who had a crack at the second attempt, but
that was Campbell Henderson. I think,
you go.
In the maybe 1957.
But then in November 2000, 75 years after it had last produced spirit, it was bought by a new company, Mitchell's Glengyle Limited, this is just, I love this, headed by Mr. Hedley Wright, chairman of J&A Mitchell & Co. Limited, and the great-great-nephew of William Mitchell, the original founder of Glengyle.
That's awesome.
That's fucking sweet.
Love me a full circle.
Yep. I'm a big fan, and I had no idea of any of this before we started looking into the region and the distilleries, but I've become a big fan of just the tie-in and the history, and that just tickles me. It really fucking does, Rick.
We should do one of those like forensic boards.
Yeah.
Strings everywhere.
Well, because that's it. Because there's been a couple of times we've looked into the history of a distillery and found that there's been familial generations that go back quite a long way. Was it Loch Lomond that Bessie Williams?
I thought Bessie was Lefroy.
You're right. Sorry, it was Lefroy. I'm getting my wires crossed. Yeah. This is why we need a board so that we can literally have
John Campbell,
wires crossed.
I believe John Campbell might have started Lefroy.
And Bessie ran it. And
she was the last. She was the one to go global.
That's right.
Bessie was.
You're right. Sorry, she wasn't an actual family member, was she?
I know what you're saying. It'll come to me later if I don't dwell on it too hard. But he had it was Izzy's and Catherine. It was maybe Catherine's son. And yeah, the name will come to me if I don't think about it too hard.
Excellent.
So where we're at. So the buildings, they were pretty well reserved because they'd been used for various other things. Yeah, Blocky had to go. Morris Block, who also owned Glen Scotia, he had to go. That failed due to a little minor event known as the Second World War.
Just a minor spat.
Yeah. As did the second attempt, as you said, by Campbell Henderson Limited in 1957. Yeah, Mitchell's Glengyle picked it up in November 2000. And they had the express purpose of renovating the building and rebuilding the Glengyle distillery. Mitchell Glengyle, also associated with Springbank, and both operations come under the guidance of Mr. Hedley Wright. That was totally redundant. You just said all that for me.
Yeah, but it gave me a chance to start nosing. So
over the next few years, the buildings were repaired to an adequate standard, they had to be restored in line with the local area building's listed status, which is pretty much akin to heritage status in Australia.
Oh, as they should, you know.
Yeah, I concur. And since the original distillery equipment had been turfed in the 20s, new stills, malt mills and a mash tun and washbacks were installed along with all the related equipment. But most of it was second-hand, coming from the other distilleries that had either ceased production or just had surplus. And so production at the new Glengyle distillery began in 2004. It's also the first distillery of the new millennium, and it's part of a bit of a trend in new distilleries, which include Arran from 1995, got Daft Mill 2005, and Isla's newest distillery, Kilkerran, in 2005.
There you go. So it is one of the newest one, and you were right about Kilkerran or Kilkerran. I can never fucking pronounce these things properly. Why can't they all be easy like Springbank?
That's it.
You know, Kilkerran. Easy. Glen Scotia.
KISS principle. Yeah. Glen Scotia isn't even a logical word. Ask an Indian to pronounce that.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, their etymology would be very, very different, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't read Sanskrit.
Yeah.
But a lot of the Indians I work with talk about how much they love Glenfiddich and how much they love Chivas Regal.
Nice. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Well, I'm getting
a bit of like a lemony meringue.
I'm getting a lot of oak out of it. And what's that?
Nice citrusy.
What's that
almost
fucking
candied orange or something?
What's that icing they put on wedding cake?
Oh, is that marzipan? The thick?
I don't know what it's called, but I reckon I can smell some of that in there.
Is it? Yeah, the really thick sugary shit.
Yeah. I don't really like it very much, but I think
Yeah.
I don't like wedding cake, full stop. Wedding cake is the worst fucking cake, man. It's
Traditional wedding cakes, yeah, generally are pretty shit out.
yeah, not a fan at all.
Just go for it. And maybe
I had totally, if I get married again, it'll be ice cream cake.
Yeah.
By 100%. I tried for that last
With a whiskey
time. It didn't
sauce?
fucking work. It did not. No whiskey fucking sauce. I'm not ruining a good single malt, and I'm still gonna hold you that too.
Yeah, we got to film that. I'm all for it.
But there's a sweetness to it that's
Yeah, to me it's a candied orange or a candied lemon.
yeah, there is a little bit of citrus in there. Again, the robe on the fucker is just delightful.
Not quite as viscous.
No, it's not quite as. I mean
as the Glen Scotia, I'd say.
That Glen Scotia, that robe's still very gradually falling from that last sip. It's incredible.
Yeah, NASA needs to study that.
Yeah.
Anti-gravity.
There's a little bit of. I don't know if it's peat or if it's chaff on the barrel, but there seems to be a little bit of smoke on the nose. Just a hint. You're defying the difference in the robe. It's incredibly creamy on the palate.
Yes.
Incredibly creamy.
So that's a great word for it.
It really is. There's
Kind of inflates on the tongue.
There's a real softness to it. It's not the sweetness and sugars in there are different to the sweetness and the sugars in the Glen Scotia.
Yeah, but I think, like you said, it's got that whipped cream sweetness.
Almost like
I'm getting a lemon meringue vibe.
it's almost like the inside of a marshmallow. It's kind of it's fluffy and creamy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
there's
like a bit of vanilla.
Yeah, I feel like it's expanding.
Yeah, it does. It kind of the finish on it. It's days.
It's just getting better.
Like it's days, and it is. It's not. Oh, it's beautifully. It's a delicate sweetness. It is. It's like a fucking
It's
marshmallow.
really delicate, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a vanilla marshmallow. That
Mhm.
just, yeah. Ah,
Oh, geez, a third sip of that. It's just getting better. Oh. Compared to the sort of the bite that the Glen Scotia has, this is so damn smooth for 3 years younger.
yeah. They've, as I said, I think they went through 6 or maybe 7 work in progress releases to get to the 12-year-old, but fuck, it was worth it. They've really, yeah, it's
God, that's nice.
wonderful.
Yeah, it does have that vanilla ice creamy. But yeah, on the nose I was getting more of a lemon meringue.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can certainly understand because there's a tiny hint of citrus in there, but it's the meringue. It's the light, fluffy sugars that then come through as what I said as marshmallow, but you could very easily say as meringue on the tongue. There is that vanilla there, something like a sweet biscuit as well. Obviously not the texture, but that not an arrowroot, but
Is it a creamy biscuit or just a... It's not one of the cream-filled ones.
no, it's kind of almost like a wagon wheel without the chocolate.
Yeah.
You know how maybe almost like an Anzac cookie, but not as golden syrupy flavored.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah. No,
I
the
don't know what
sugars are different. They're a lot lighter.
I remember the biscuit. My grandma used to eat them, but I don't know what the fuck they're called.
Did she make them?
That's unlikely. I never saw my nan cook that much.
Okay.
She was a bandit for tea and biscuits and coffee and Scrabble. God, that woman could play Scrabble.
Replace Scrabble with solitaire, and you've painted a wicked picture of my maternal grandmother as well.
Nice. She was a fucking cluey lady. Real cluey lady. Real big influence on me, my nan. She was a good woman. Real good woman.
Yeah,
But I don't know what I can't remember what the biscuits were.
About the only thing I have in common with my nan is a birthday.
Well, that's pretty fucking cool.
Cool bit of trivia for listeners. I share a birthday with my grandma. My mum shares a birthday with her grandma.
Yeah, nice.
There was a lot of pressure on me to produce a grandson on my mother's birthday.
Yeah, there is. Good luck with that.
Nah, I'm done. One is plenty.
It opens up on the nose. That's after a couple of sips, the vanilla really comes through. It becomes more dominant. Those sugars.
I still feel like it's a little bit of lemon zest in the vanilla.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit of citrus in there.
Something slightly citrusy.
The oak's taken a back seat. On the nose now with a bit on the palate. And that's the thing about these whiskies, because the viscosity coats the palate so well, it genuinely changes the nosing after a couple of sips. It really, I am really looking forward to adding a drop to these and see what happens to the nose.
Geez, this is just getting better though. This
is a fucking great dram.
Yeah,
really is.
I have not respected this. I've always liked it, but I've not respected it this much until the time of analysis has arrived.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see Islay ever being superseded as my region of choice. But fuck, Campbeltown gives it a run for its money.
It's nice to go on a holiday every now and then.
Yeah, I'd love to know what the secret of the viscosity is, and I'd love to see some. As I said, Kilkerran is working on a heavily peated expression. I can't wait to wrap my lips around that. Poor. Can you imagine peat with this texture?
With this, yeah. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that. sign up to their newsletter if they've got one. But yeah, I've got to relax. I personally think I need to move on. Otherwise, I'm just going to damage.
Yeah, dude, I've been looking forward to tasting this fucking whiskey for 2 years.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
The Springbank.
I personally, forgive my ignorance, I didn't even know about it until not too long ago.
As I said, it's I found out about them, after. So I think it would have been. It would have been around 2 years ago that I first got exposed to Campbeltown. But knowing that this is Springbank established in 1828 and on the site of Archibald Mitchell's illicit still. So, it's like they've got distilling chops that go back a fucking long way.
They got some pedigree.
Yeah, and the fact that it's now in the hands of their current chairman, Hedley G. Wright, who not only is William Mitchell's great-great-nephew, is Archibald Williams' great-great-grandson. So the fifth generation of the Mitchell family to own and manage Springbank Distillery. That's heritage there. That's control. So many distilleries are sold and bought and different owners have different values and different ideals.
Oh, what were we saying? Ben Riach has now gone to the...
Ben Riach's now Brown Forman have the Ben Riach distillery.
Sterile does that feel?
And I mean, the Pernod Ricard had them, Shivers had them, like big consortiums have had them. And, and they've got, big portfolios. And it's all about the dollars for, big places like that. I mean, this is a distillery that's been fucking, near continuously distilling since 1828.
Yeah, that is amazing.
That's nearly 200 fucking years, man, by the same family. And yet, they're not synonymous with whiskey, but I'm not sure. I only heard about them a couple of years, and I'm no fucking expert, right? I'm just a really enthusiastic amateur. But I came across these two first, and this is one of the smallest distilleries in Scotland. This is one of the newest distilleries in Scotland.
Think the fact that Glen Scotia has the Loch Lomond group behind them kind of helps that advertising budget.
Yeah, and
the fact that Springbank is a family owned and operated and does absolutely everything in-house.
That's it, exactly. Like, they're the only Scottish distillery to complete 100% of the production process on site, with human involvement at each and every stage. The only distillery in Scotland to malt 100% of their barley using traditional floor malting methods. Like, this is old school distilling.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is exactly what you're referring about. You're referring to a couple of episodes. I'm not sure if it was the last one. I think it was the last one because we were talking about the September.
Yeah, like and how it just there was more to the whiskey than just knowing that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is a family, a family that's been doing it for nearly 200 fucking years. As I said, I've got really, really high expectations for this whiskey. But
really hope. I've been nosing it, and there's
Now you'd already mentioned that they do the three distinct malts. Yeah. But they're the only distillery in Scotland to produce three distinct malts at the same distillery.
Oh, nice.
So, and they're very different. So you've got, as you mentioned, and this is a little bit redundant, but the Springbank is considered a medium or lightly peated expression. Did you say what it was available as? But whether you did or not, I love redundancy. It's available as a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 21-year-old.
So this is the Springbank?
That's the Springbank. And the Longmorn.
Is it Long Row? I believe it's not Longmorn. Sorry.
Maybe I've written that down wrong.
Yeah, I believe you have. I thought Longmorn was what was Lefroy's rival for a little while. No, Longmorn was where the Puggy went from Ben Riach.
Well, there you go. So I have.
Yeah,
I've written that down wrong. But yeah, the Long Row's that's been distilled since 1973, and that's the Islay.
So far more recent.
Yeah, and that's and that was as an experiment. They wanted to prove that they could produce an Islay-style whiskey on the mainland. And so they're available as no age statements as the peated, the red, and an 18-year-old. And the Hazelburn is distilled since 1997, which is a light-style triple distilled whiskey.
That's quite young.
Yeah, available as a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. Yeah. So, but this one that we're about to sample, the 10-year-old, won gold at the 2014 World Whiskies Awards for Best Campbeltown Single Malt 12 years and younger. Oh, there's a little bit of peat in that on the nose.
See, I'm a little scared here. And this is going to sound really denigrative, but I smell something akin to my son's nappy bin.
I'm glad I don't smell your son's nappy bin. Has he been getting into your whiskies, do you think?
Maybe.
Cheeky little fucker. Good on him.
He's pretty much tripping balls the whole time.
So there's just a touch of peat.
Yeah, just a hint. It's starting
it's really
to
subtle.
The rancid thing that I had going on straight up is starting to disappear.
Yeah, but you're also the bloke that fucking stuck his nose in my Lagavulin 16-year-old and went, "Whoa, that smells like Dettol."
Because it fucking did. I would have. It's the Scotch equivalent of rakia. You clean your wounds with that shit.
Lovely robe.
I'm actually...
Probably the pick of the three,
yeah,
I think.
I do have my nice decanter. I'm sorry, not decanter. My nice cut crystal Glencairn. And, no, it's actually showing up in this one.
Yeah, beautiful.
I have been swirling high, but it's showing up lovely. There's no mistake about that.
There's something else on the nose that I'm not sure what it is.
That's what I'm trying to...
There's a bit of vapour to it. Is it the cereal that's coming through? The barley itself? Touch of wood, but not much.
Yeah, it's not a sweetness.
No, there's not a lot of high end.
It's not an oakiness. It might be sort of a grainy...
I'm going to have a sip and see if that opens up.
Ricey. Oh.
Oh, that's big on the palate.
Yeah. It's a nice peach shot to start with.
Subtle, but it's there.
Yeah. But
it fades quickly though.
I found it disappeared really quickly, and now I'm left with some back end sweetness.
Yep.
Some sugars lingering on the back of the tongue.
Yeah, it almost
Oh Jesus, the nose lied to the palate. This is bloody great. A little bit of a burn on the way down the...
Very subtle.
Yeah.
Probably what the difference will be between the 10 and the 12 years, I would say.
Yeah.
But
would you pay $50 to not have that?
I'd pay $50 just to try the 12-year-old.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, that again, long finish, super luxurious in the mouth. Different sugars.
Yeah.
Close to, more of a...
Like you said, like a barley sugar kind of thing.
Yeah, it is.
Like cereal sugar.
I think the barley itself's coming through. I think...
Oh, geez, these are all bloody great.
There's not a bad whiskey amongst them.
No.
But,
I do feel this is staunchly living up to expectations. That's just, I'm gonna steal your thunder here and say, a bit longer in wood and this would be exceptional.
I think
it's just that wee little bit of burn. It's nice and round on the palate, but it's just got a wee bit of an edge going down.
Yeah, and that's not being denigrative at all, because it's a 10-year-old.
Well, that's it. It's younger than all the others.
Yeah, it's the youngest, but at the same time, it tastes the most refined.
Mm-hmm. The flavours in it are
Yeah.
amazing.
Like it's like there's a lot going on. It's taking me a little bit to separate everything.
Mm-hmm. So the peat that they use is sourced from Islay, and the malt is dried for various, lengths of time, anywhere from 30 to 48 hours to imbue different levels of the smoky flavour associated with the Scottish whisky. So the different lengths of time that the peat spends, it depends whether that'll go to the Springbank or the long row. During the distillation process, some of the low wines are collected before the second distillation. This is where they claim... Sorry, jumped the gun a little bit. I'm not sure if I wrote it down anyway. But they claim that Springbank is distilled 2.5 times. So how that works, during the distillation process, some of the low wines are collected before the second distillation and then mixed back into the faints for another distillation. And that means that some parts of the spirit have been through the stills twice, some parts 3 times, hence a half distillation.
So they're averaging it.
Yeah.
Yep.
The amount of spirit that goes through the half time is judged by the stillman as the process takes place to ensure consistency, and it comes out of the still at about 71-72%. I can get into the technicality of low wines and faints, but to be honest, I couldn't really be bothered unless you want to hear it.
No, look, it's
we'll put a link in the show notes to that.
I'm just really fucking enjoying the whiskey. So it's the like a cereal or the malt itself.
Yeah.
With a hint of peat. That's the hero on the nose.
A little bit of bitterness on the back of the tongue. Sort of like orange rind almost. Bitterness.
Oh, the power of suggestion, hey? I wasn't picking that up at all, and then as soon as you said it, it's like, yeah, okay. Like the pith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like what do they call it when they zest? When they put they scrape a little bit of the skin into icing to make orange icing.
Yep.
Orange zest. Yep. So the malt and the oak on the palate after a few sips, and there's, I don't know if it's vanilla or cinnamon, and I know the two aren't very close, but
they're not too far removed from each other in a way. They pair quite well.
Oh, is there pear on the nose? I know that's not what you were saying.
I'm not getting as much as... I might have to go back to the Scotia.
This is why we fucking leave whiskey in our glasses.
Oh, geez, that's become...
Wow, the sugars in that.
That's become like toffee or caramel
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, like almost molasses.
Sorry, in reference to the Glen Scotia.
Yeah, and then if you go back to the Springbank, it's all wood. Oh, it's crazy the way they can change in relation to each other once you've expanded your palate a little bit and the aromas are given time to oxidate. Whereas the Kilkerran, it's brine, maybe.
It's getting a saltiness to it.
Yeah.
It's also getting that like the leather or tea without salt.
Ooh.
That was from a distance though.
No, you're right. There's and the two can are quite closely related to each other. The tea and the leather. I think it's tea.
Dash of earthy kind of.
Yep. Yeah, because tea's just a little bit sharper than leather.
Yeah.
Leather's just a little bit bit more full bodied, a little bit lower on the spectrum. Wow. Look at us learning.
That Glen Scotia's been, it's been sitting out for the past 40 minutes. It's had lots of time to
Well, they all have, but we started
but
tasting
geez,
this one first.
the
But
toffee caramel.
yeah, it's like that Christmas, cake.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, it's
Like stewed pears.
It's gone really thick, hasn't it?
Stewed pears and stewed cherry, with that really kind of rich, you know what? It's almost sticky date.
Mm-hmm.
Sticky date pudding with like a butterscotch sauce.
Like pecans.
On the nose, that's fucking
that's
amazing.
Delightful. I had to have a sip to back it up.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, that just got so much better.
That's such a good dram.
Yeah. Just
the back of the tongue, the finish on the back of the tongue is just silky smooth.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. That needs at least half an hour in the air, I reckon. That's come up real well.
Now, going back to the Springbank, the...
Kilkerran, I'm getting a bit of hair. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I'm getting some orchard fruits out of that. But yeah, the sugars in both
have really expounded.
Mm-hmm.
Really have. But the Springbank on that nose, it's all oak and toasted malt. Toasted barley kind of thing. And I'm wondering what the sugars are going to be like on the palate. It really is a more bottom-ended, on the spectrum. So the sugars are there, and I think it might even be vanilla and fucking. Is it nutmeg?
Here we go again.
It's something like that on the palate, but the woods there's a bit of spice, which I think comes from the oak and the fact that it's 10 years, so it's a little bit spicier. And again middle and back of the tongue where that spice hits.
Yep, I agree.
It's not fluffy marshmallow like the Kilkerran.
No,
it's not stewed fruit.
No,
like
it is.
The
It's
Glen
more.
Scotia.
I do think you're.
It's the cereal itself. It's the barley. It's the malt.
It is as like barley sugars to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's for.
Oh, it's beautiful. Like,
and just that
only thing that
just that tiny thread of peat through it that just makes me warm to it. Just want to cuddle it. You're right. I mean.
Yeah, I'd love to see how a couple of years or even another 5 years would do this.
Well, they do it. They do a 10 and they do a 12 and a 15-year-old.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and they're not cheap.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah, they're not cheap. They do an 18 and a 21-year-old. They're fucking I don't know if they're available. Like, they're certainly not things you can pick up from your average online retailer or
Might
your
have
average.
To see if one of the local whiskey establishments. I can imagine though a dram of the 18-year-olds probably bartenders are selling it for $30 a shot.
But yeah, I can't believe I wrote down Longmore and didn't pick up on it. That's ridiculous.
I love the fact that I picked up on it from you.
Thank you. But it makes me really want to try the long row.
As soon as they said heavily peated, I thought, what?
Yeah.
Heavily peated Campbeltown. Bring it.
Yep. Yeah, really keen. So, I mean, to start, kind of concluding, I suppose, I'm in love with the style.
This place is heaven on earth. I wish this was 200 years ago.
Yeah, that there was still 31 fucking distilleries that were distilling in this style, and again, that during that time, they were peaty, full, heavy flavoured expressions. And I would love to be able to explore that as incredibly fully as possible. And only having the three, while I feel incredibly grateful and blessed to have been introduced to them and to be able to have enjoyed them. God, can you imagine having fucking 20 of these fuckers lined up and going through them?
That'd be a nice Sunday.
And Monday. Jesus.
So it's might be drop time.
Yep, I think you're right. There's a lovely little bit of salt on that finish as well for the Springbank. There's a lovely little bit of salt in all of them. Yeah, I shall.
If you want your own water. Oh, yep. Glen Scotia. It's brought out the wood, brought out the oakiness.
Oh, yeah.
3 drops.
Yeah, that's really settled those sugars down. And the wood really comes through.
God, that's delicious. I love that.
It smells far more balanced on the nose now with the wood coming through. And those sugars of it's almost like
Really blended.
a candy as opposed to a toffee.
And almost, I've got to stick my nose in deep to get any sense of the alcohol burn that was happening, the vapours that were happening earlier.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's lovely. Nice and sweet.
Wow.
Really soft.
It softens hugely.
Yeah.
I added 2 drops and there'd be maybe 10 ml left in my glass.
That's what, yeah.
But it softens
I added
greatly.
3. Had maybe a touch more. That's nice and soft. That's beautiful.
It does damage the viscosity a little. Not
That's
hugely
beautiful.
though.
Yeah, for mine it brings out the wood.
Yeah, it really does.
That's lovely.
The wood becomes the hero as opposed to the oil being the hero there. The sugars are tempered a little bit, but they're the same sugars, so it doesn't change. You know, it scales everything a little bit back, and it brings those original pear notes to the surface, as opposed to it makes them a little less stewed, as it were.
Yep.
It's more just ripe pear as opposed to stewed. The Kilkerran will be interesting. That's really softened on the palate. On the nose.
Oh, there's getting like a piney, but it's not quite pine. Some sort of fragrant, really fragrant, quite zingy. I don't know how to describe it.
Well, it's almost like an aromatic wood that isn't oak, maybe it's the. It must be oak. That's quite different on the nose.
That's really changed.
Well, doesn't seem to have affected the robe too much.
No. If anything, it seems to flow a little bit freer.
It hasn't negatively affected the viscosity on the palate. That that citrus that was you were saying with the lemon meringue. That's
yeah. I'm not finding that much anymore.
It's
Yeah, not even on the nose. It's changed a lot.
a very different whiskey with the drop. But gone are those soft vanilla tones that expand. It's kind of almost like a you know the meringues you get at a bakery, like the hard meringues,
The little guys. Yeah. Yep.
It's more like that kind of meringue. So the sugars are they're not burnt, but they're no longer light and fluffy. It's and it tends to dissolve quickly in your mouth.
Used to love those things as a kid.
Oh fuck yeah!
Of course, anything packed full of sugar you love as a kid.
No, that's so true. Mind you, what are you saying? I'm still fucking love anything packed full of sugar now. I'm very fortunate that I don't weigh 200 kilos. It's the amount of shit I eat.
Fat person in a skinny person's body.
Yeah, very much so. Wow, smell the sugars in the Springbank now.
Oh, that's gone deep.
That's rich. That's become really rich on the nose.
It's become nice pudding.
Yeah, pudding and
Custard.
Yeah, like a vanilla custard.
Vanilla
and
custard.
a big serve of vanilla custard with warm, Christmas pudding. Because there's some dark fruits in there. Is it like a dark cherry or something?
Almost,
no, it's not cherry.
No, almost like raisins, sultanas.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, you're right.
Not so much, yeah. Had some good cherries the other day. 'Tis the season.
Maybe currants. Like raisins, currants, they're basically the same thing, but some kind of dried grape.
Yeah.
Still big on the palate.
I feel once again the wood has come out a lot more.
Yeah.
That bit of burn that I was talking about on the way down, totally gone.
It's a glow now. There's no burn. It's just a glow.
Are they all?
And it does. It
So we
expands
said
down here.
the Scotia's 46. Springbank is 46. Kilkerran, they're all at 46%.
Yeah, right.
So I think it might be the youthful exuberance that is
just goes to show that you always add a drop to your last mouthful when you're exploring a dram, kids.
Oh no, there we go. You take in a little bit more than normal and you can feel the bite again. But still, that's
an exceptional whiskey. I'm so pleased that it hasn't disappointed me.
Yeah.
The peat's a little bit more subdued with adding the drop.
It's not, when they said medium peat,
I'd call that very lightly
I'd call
peated.
it pretty lightly.
I would even call that medium peated.
Yeah, that Glen Ruthus, the blue label peat.
The Glen Rhodes, yeah.
I would say that is more peated than this.
Yeah.
And they call that lightly peated on the bottle.
But that is their peated expression. And yeah, you're right. It is a lightly peated expression.
Yeah. But it seems to, and they call this medium peated. Well, they don't advertise it.
No, but they say that the Springbank style is a medium peated, but I think the reviews of the 12-year-old that I've read focus a little bit more on the peat. I really want to try the long row now.
Yeah, there is not a mention of peat at all.
Yeah, I think I had some.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to mention?
I thought I had something written down about their different expressions and the amount of peat in them, but I may be mistaken.
That might be it.
Yeah, okay. So, according to their website, we've been distilling Springbank since 1828, with a character all of its own thanks to the use of lightly peated barley in a unique 2.5 times distillation process. It's a complex, full-bodied maritime dram. Today, our flagship whisky is available in bottlings of 10, 12, 15, 18 and 21-year-olds, which each having slightly different palates and finishes. I think that when I looked at it, I think I did write this down somewhere, but it hasn't made it into the notes, that the older they get, the more peated they are. So the 12-year-old is slightly more peated than the 10, and the 15-year-old is considered a peated whiskey. But then the long row are heavily peated.
I wonder how that works. In a way, I'm assuming that it's the same. They don't make a different spirit and say, okay, yeah, we've done this to this level. This is the recipe for a 15-year-old. Now we wait 15 years. I'm sure they're all kind of the same. I would assume that's how most distilleries work. Yep, this is our recipe. This is our formula. Let's age it.
Yeah, maybe I'm reading too much into that. Or maybe the reviews are just...
Yeah.
I mean, the reviews are by different people, so maybe different people are picking different...
So I'm wondering why... Well, maybe the... Okay, well, let's assume then that what evaporates, I guess, is the alcohol. You're left with a higher concentration of peat.
Well, I mean, peat's measured in parts per million, isn't it?
So if the peat doesn't evaporate with the alcohol, then
maybe that's where...
should get...
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Maybe. Well, that's something worth us looking into.
Mm-hmm.
But,
bloody good whiskey.
Yeah, no, that's why that didn't make it into the notes. That's the other thing as well. When doing the research on this, I don't know about your process, but I tend to, check out the distilleries themselves, obviously, check out other sources, and then I find myself on different blogs.
Okay.
And, they're far less trustworthy sources of information, so you've kind of got to go through it and look for confirming facts rather than, going, okay, this is a
greater sample size,
a key takeaway kind of thing. But you also find that a lot of the blogs that you end up on, they're not really... There'll be a couple of paragraphs that are based on the information they've got from the distillery, and then it's their opinions on the whiskies. Which,
well, that is their point of reference. Yeah. They come back, to that.
I think...
in a way, I think... Yeah, I don't like looking at tasting notes at all. I think, you form your own opinion. I love learning about the distilleries and the history, and I'll make up my own mind whether I like it or not, and what I taste, what I can take from the whiskey.
I do. I mean, because sometimes, Reverend Jim, his rating doesn't include his tasting notes. Mm-hmm. I think what I'll do moving forward, because I do the same, I avoid the tasting notes, because if I read them, then it's going to influence me, especially, for example, the Springbank. I studiously avoided them to the point of covering up the screen, because I hadn't tasted the whiskey before, and I didn't want to, knowing that it was considered peated, that was the only thing I allowed myself to kind of, dream on. But I think moving forward, I'll, print them, hide them, and then refer to them when we're done. Because we did that with a couple of them. Read the back of the box, the tasting notes on the back of the box. I don't think any of these have them.
No, not really. I know I can't.
I can't really read that. Jesus.
Okay, Glen Scotia has hints of vanilla oak interwoven with subtle notes of sea spray and spicy aromatic fruits, that's pretty bang on what we were saying.
Yeah. But But yeah, I think it would be an interesting exercise in doing our own tasting notes and then looking at what, say, the tasting notes from the distillery are. But a lot of the time, the distillery notes, tasting notes are very, kind of, they don't, I think they deliberately don't want to put you down a particular line, so they're quite, it's fresh and with fruity overtones and a long, dry finish, really...
expressions.
Yeah, exactly right. So things that don't actually describe the thing at all, they're just 3 extra lines that they can put on the website. And that's probably the way I do it if I, just had a distillery, because at the end of the day, you don't want to influence. Mind you, this whole fucking podcast about influencing other people's opinions realistically, because it's just us giving our fucking opinions. So yeah, that is pretty. Yeah. Well, I think we should.
I don't want to be influenced. I just want to influence.
I just want to influence, exactly. So maybe I don't want to be influenced, but I do want to be able to give other people my influence and other people's influence. I want to influence them doubly while remaining uninfluenced myself. That's cunty, but hey, that's how I roll. But I reckon we're ready to rate.
I still think Glen Scotia is the most accessible out of all of these.
I agree.
Yeah, I think we're bang on the money there.
I reckon you've got your little book there. I reckon we should write them down just for our own reference. But I think if we're going in order... Oh, fuck, this is tough, actually.
This is brutal,
man. This is fucking really tough.
I've been thinking about this for the past few minutes.
I'm wondering if I've jumped to the Glen Scotia because you mentioned it, because when I look at the other two, fuck me.
No, they're all amazing in their own right.
It's going to come down to your preference, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think, for mine anyway, I can do it this way first. I would have to say that the Springbank is third out of all of them, but it's still going to get a pretty high rating.
Well, I'm on my last mouthful of each, so I'm going to have these mouthfuls one after the other, which probably defies all professional ways of doing it, but I'm a rank amateur who's very enthusiastic, so I don't give a fuck.
You should never tell somebody how to do something. You should see what they do and be impressed with their ingenuity.
That's lovely, Rick.
Because they might do something in a way that you've never seen before.
Okay. Now, I intentionally went in the reverse order that we started in. So we went Glen Scotia, Kilkerran, Springbank. I just went Springbank, Kilkerran, Glen Scotia in 3 consecutive mouthfuls, giving myself very little or no time between them, just to see what would happen.
I followed your lead because I liked what you were doing. And I think I might have to eat my words. I still think the Glen Scotia 15 comes out on top.
I think you're right. But I think, and this feels wrong to say, but I think the Kilkerran comes third for me and the Springbank moves into second.
That's what I got from doing what you just did
there. And that is nothing against Kilkerran. I really want to reiterate, these 3 malts are all fucking exceptional. And going up against almost anything that we've tried so far in the podcast, they probably stand on top. Maybe with the exception of the Septenderson, because that was bloody fucking amazing. And obviously, the Glendronach, got such a high rating, and I mean, and I apologise for the waffle, when we went to rate those. I hadn't eaten, and I was
It's all right. I haven't edited it yet.
I was waxing lyrical, but but all three of these malts are fucking outstanding. But I think the Glen Scotia gets top price.
Tasting it with water now.
That's true.
I was really enjoying the Kilkerran without the water, and it was, for a minute, it almost had first place.
I'm not going to place them.
Yeah. I'm
just going to rate them.
Yeah. I'd like to put them into place, so then that gives me sort of a framework for.
And I know you do that, and I think I've unconsciously adopted that framework.
You're a bad influence, Rickus.
Fucking bastard. But fuck, this is the toughest rating that I've done so far.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm gonna shoot from the hip.
Yeah, please.
Glen Scotia, 8.7.
Okay.
Kilkerran, 8.6. Springbank, 8.5.
Wow, I'm surprised. I
Springbank could maybe even be an 8.4, but.
See, now you usually rate hot. Well, I think it's give and take, but I was looking at all of them and thinking, close to 9. In fact, I'm going to give the Glen Scotia a 9. I'm going to give both the Kilkerran and the Springbank an 8.9.
Yeah, I'll stand by mine.
That's fair.
So sorry, 9 for
I don't expect you to change.
And an 8.9.
Knowing that I think I gave the Septenderson a 9.1.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave...
See, I enjoyed that more than the Glen Scotia. I can't...
Oh, I did too. But, the peat had a lot to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel I should have given the Septenderson. After giving the Glendronach revivals, I think 9.4 and 9.3
you were happy.
A piece. They probably should have been 9.3, 9.2, and the Septenderson should have been a 9.2 as well. But I rated them the way I rated them. But in line with that, I think the Glen Scotia deserves a 9. And I think that the Kilkerran and the Springbank both deserve an 8.9.
So where are we at? Where are we at, Reverend?
Give it to me, Jim. Delightful.
Okay, Glen Scotia. 15. Uh, 91.5. Yeah, cool. Closer to you than me. I'll totally agree.
What's he say?
He says, a serious buzz of lively working tannin to this, all dark sugars and spice. It suggests a malt, which means business.
Yes.
Mouth filling, deep, roasty, slightly fat, vaguely salty, massively chewy.
Yes.
Kind of molasses feel with the sweetness reduced.
Yes.
Long with a lovely buttery oiliness, giving a sheen to the late licorice. I didn't get that.
I didn't get licorice, but
the spices really do come into their own.
Yes.
Great to see this rather special little distillery produce something quite so confident and complete.
I'm on board, Jim.
Yeah, cool.
I am fucking... this is why he's the master, because he puts the things that I think into such wonderfully understandable words. Chewy is perfect. That was a chewy fucking dram.
So we got to go... So we got nose, taste, finish, and balance / complexity. So I'll read this one with that in mind. Springbank, 10 years. No, it's not 100 proof, it's just the 10. Okay. 89.5. Although the inherent youthfulness of the 10-year-old has not changed, the depth of body around it keeps the taste buds on full alert.
Succinct.
Not a lot to say about the base.
Now, I think...
And what did we say was a
We've
90?
We've got a score from Jim from a website.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a 90.
But we didn't get any description.
User rating was 92, I think. Like reviews.
Yep.
But
90.
So the Kilkerran comes away with a 90. Shit, maybe I was being a harsh master.
Look, I was surprised. But yeah, if you were comparing to the Septenderson, yeah, and if you had the expectation of more peat from the Springbank, I think that's why the Springbank came in third for me, because there was the expectation of a little more peat than there was. But yeah, I realised that I shouldn't rank them. I should just rate them. And when I realised that, they both got the same score. And I think Jim, what did Jim give him? A 90 and an 89?
The Glen Scotia, I think, was 91.5. That was closer to the start.
He gave the Kilkerran a 90, and the Springbank, what did he give? An 89.5, was it?
Springbank, yeah, 89.5.
So I'm pretty close there.
Yeah, I'm having an off day.
No, I wouldn't say that at all. But I can understand, in comparison. And look, and I almost do wish that I could re-rate the previous ones that I didn't give enough to or gave too much to.
Yeah, 91.5.
But yeah, I think that the Glen Scotia just felt like it was, just one little step above, just a more complete dram, and that probably comes, you know what that is, don't you, Rick?
Sorry,
because it's you realise why the Glen Scotia is that little step above. It's because it's spent more time in wood. That's the key. That's the fucking key.
So I just want to revisit our ratings.
Oh, of course you can.
Yeah. And see where it sits. So what have I given? Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this more than the yeah, I've been a shit cunt. I definitely enjoy this more than the 12-year-old, and I've given the 12 Loch Lomond 12-year-old, and I've given that a 9. Yeah, it's on par with Lefroy PX Cast, and I've given that a 9.
What do I give the PX? The Lefroy
PX? 8.8.
Yeah, that seems right. This is 2 steps above that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've got to stand by my word, but...
Well, you don't have to. Because it's all about perspective, right?
Yeah.
Mind you, I don't want to influence you.
I do think I enjoyed... Yeah. Yeah, I'm a shit cunt. Let's give them all plus 0.4. It's better than that.
Because you gave one of them an 8.4, didn't you?
No, I gave... Hang on, what am I doing? That's a 9 flat. Okay, so in review, the Glen Scotia gets a 9.1 because it's better than the Loch Lomond 12.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
The Kilkerran 9.0 because it's easily on par, if not marginally better.
Yep.
And Springbank 8.9.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I was being a harsh master.
That's okay. You're allowed to be.
Mm-hmm. Which now I've turned out more generous than you.
But that's in line with how we've been across the board so far.
True. Whiskey seems to make me happier.
And I'm I'm the Scrooge of fucking whiskey ratings. And I'm okay with that. You know, I'm a harsh fucking taskmaster. I expect big things. And, you know, I'm really fucking happy with those whiskies. I'm so glad we chose to go to Campbeltown. You know, I look forward to, and we'll follow up with this as well. If and when the Kilkerran do release their heavily peated, that'll definitely feature. I can't see this being the only Springbank that gets its slot. And obviously, this is the first time we've done more than one distillery in an episode. So a little bit experimental for us. You know, required a little bit more research. You know, I like the format. I like the differences. You know, the differences were more pronounced than just different expressions from the same distillery. So I think I look forward to doing more episodes where different distilleries you know, come in and play together. We might do a fucking 12-year-olds episode where the Springbank gets a crack with like a Japanese 12-year-old, or there's just so many ways we can go. No, I refuse to. There's endless opportunities to mix and match. I've had a delightful time, Rickus.
It's been brilliant.
They've been really, really good.
So on that note,
well,
I don't have too much more to say, except
I think this is probably a good spot to wrap up.
Yeah. Oh. Cheers, fuckers. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for listening, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy your next dram. Sláinte.
Sláinte. This episode of Living the Dram was brought to you by the Duff Bus, providing safe, fun and affordable and responsible travel to music festivals around Australia. Do you love festivals but hate driving? The Duff Bus has been safely carrying people interstate for 5 years and is much more than just a coach journey. The Duff Bus is an environmentally friendly alternative to driving, and they're committed to reducing the carbon footprint of festivals. The Duff Bus offers you an experience you'll never forget. You're bound to make new friends for life. You travel with a bunch of awesome, like-minded duffers. Rather than spending $100 plus on petrol and driving hours to rural Australia, then being herded like a domestic animal into a holding pen while you wait to get in, you'll be catching a coach with a professional driver, and you can sit back and relax and get psyched with all the other passengers. There's no fuss. And there's no fretting about being pulled over by the cops. There's storage space too, so you don't need to worry about stuffing your car to the brim. The party keeps going once you arrive. You'll have a chance to pitch a tent at the designated Duff Bus camping area, where the team will provide a kick-ass camp and keep the good times rolling. The 2019-2020 summer sees the Duff Bus head to Rainbow, Earth Freak, Esoteric and Rabbits Eat Lettuce. Unfortunately, Subsonic has been postponed due to the imminent threat of fire, as half of New South Wales is practically burning. Single Duff return trips cost from only $100, but if you're multi-duffing this year, you got those itching dancing feet and feel that only one festival this summer isn't going to satiate. You can book multiple trips and save cash. For every additional trip you book, you'll save another $30. Be part of the solution. Check out www.doofbus, that's doofbus.com.au for more info. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode was brought to you by Rupert's Pet Cremation and Transport. Rupert's Pet Cremation and Transport offers individual pet cremations on the Central Coast. They aim to ease the grief associated with losing a beloved pet by providing a compassionate and respectful service. Rupert's fully trained and caring team will look after everything, from collection to return of your pet's ashes within 4 business days. They have a range of urns to choose from, and you can personalise the plaque with your own inscription. Furthermore, each cremation package comes with a free memorial box and a range of keepsakes. You can also customize your package by adding a framed paw print mold and or garden memorial stone. Information available at www.rpct.com.au. Mention the Living the Dram podcast for a free paw print mold with your cremation package. Conditions apply. Rupert's Pet Cremation and Transport. Treat your pet like their own.